Hi, I'm Lenny Magill with GlockStore Performance Center, and today I want to have a discussion about Glock magazines. A lot of people call us on the phone and send us emails and have questions about the magazines, and I thought this is a good time to discuss all the various opportunities available with Glock magazines. And one of the neat things about Glock magazines is that they will fit in a variety of different guns, even if it wasn't necessarily made for that gun. And by that I mean the larger magazines will fit into the smaller guns. And let's go ahead and look at the guns in particular real quick. Here I've got a lineup of three popular Glock models, basically a 17, 19, 26. Now, they're referred to as this. The 17 is the full size or duty model. The 19 is the mid-size or compact. The 26 is the mini or subcompact. So really there's three different size guns available. And really the only difference in these are the length of the barrel and corresponding frame, and as well as the length of the grip or frame. See, the 17, obviously the full size has a longer grip, the 19 has the smaller grip, and the 26 has even the smaller grip. Now, what's interesting about these frames is, in particular, the Glock designates these as small guns, the small being the caliber, 9mm, 40 caliber, 357 are all considered small frame, whereas the 45 and 10mm are considered large frame. So, interesting to note, the frame size for the G19, or the 9mm should I say in general, is the same as, the exact same frame as the G22, or the 40 caliber, which is the exact same frame as the 357. So, those three calibers share the same frames. So, in the duty or full size, you have the Glock 17, the Glock 22, and the Glock 31. All right, and there's also the Glock 34, which is the longer tactical, practical competition gun, and the Glock 35, which shoots the 40 caliber. But that's the full-size frame, the 17, 22, and 31. Now, in the mid-size frame, you have the 19, 23, and 32. 32 being the 357. And in the mini frames, you have the 26, 27, which is the 40 caliber, 26 being the 9mm, and then the 33, which is the 357. Basically, all the frames are the same. It's just the caliber, which is different. And what's interesting is that the magazines will all fit inside of the same frame. So the 9mm magazine will, in fact, fit into the 40 caliber gun, or the 357. And likewise, the 40 caliber will fit into the 9mm. One other frame I want to look at before we move into the magazines themselves is a Glock 30, and this is the 30 SF. And this is the 45. And you can see this is the small version of the 45. The large version of the 45 is going to be the Glock 21. And this is called the large frame because it's a large caliber. And this frame is significantly larger than the 9mm frames that we just looked at, the small frames. Okay, hope you got all that because there's a lot going on with Glock, but what's really cool, like I said, is a lot of the magazines are interchangeable, which allows for barrel changes, which allows you to convert the gun to different calibers. So let's talk first about the magazines in general. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Glock 17. Of course, the gun is unloaded, and I have verified that. There's no ammunition on this table. Always want to be aware that when you're working with guns, you're displaying guns, you're cleaning guns, that there's no ammunition present in the same room because guns have a tendency to get loaded inadvertently, or should I say automatically, because that's what they're supposed to do. And if you handle firearms a lot, loading magazines and loading a gun it becomes an automatic procedure. So you always want to be careful that when you're in a house or a cleaning mode or a maintenance mode or a demonstration mode that there's no ammunition, no live ammunition present. Okay, so here's the Glock 17. First thing first, the Glock 17 round 9mm magazine, okay? And this is available in most of the free states in America. Not available in California for civilians. And I'll show you the difference real quick. In California, we get to use the 10 round magazine, okay? Same exact magazine body and size, but the interior has been rigged so that it only accepts 10 rounds. Versus the standard magazine, which is the Glock is supposed to come with, the 17 rounder. Again, you can see the different holes Here, this is 10. That's the California or the restricted states, and this is the free states, and it is the high-capacity magazine. So, full-size magazine into the full-size gun. Fits flush, just like that. Okay? And most of you know that. Go ahead and eject that. Now, let's look at the full-size magazine in the mid-size gun, the Glock 19. You can see, again, it sticks out. And I say always about 3/4 of an inch is what it sticks out. People ask that question. How much does it stick out? I'd say about 3/4 of an inch. And it's pretty close. And now, the minigun, or Glock 26 subcompact full-size magazine, that's what it looks at. And it looks like it's about 1.5 inches there, sticking out. All right? So that's how that looks. Now, we have a solution for this in particular. A lot of guys want to shoot the full-size magazine with the 17 rounds in the minigun, which is a tremendous package. It makes a lot of sense. So we suggest that they use the magazine sleeve. Now, the sleeve is a separate item that slips over top of the magazine and eats up that space, that 1.5 inches that we talked about, to give you a full-size grip on the minigun. So it's quite a package there. So you really have a small gun with 17 rounds. And that's the magazine sleeve. Very popular item, very easy to install. And of course, they come on and come off just by slipping them up and down the magazine frame. So that's that. Now, a couple things to look at as far as magazines and accessories for magazines. This guy is one of the accessories, the magazine sleeve. Another accessory that's very popular is the Arredondo magazine extension, which gives an additional 5 rounds of 9mm. And so this is what it looks like, and here's what it looks like when it goes in the gun itself, just like that. So now you have 5 extra rounds of 9mm, really 23 in that magazine, and they function tremendously. So that's a great item, and we sell a bunch of those. Now, one of the things that we want to look at now is going into the mid-size gun, which is the Glock 19, 23, or 32. The native magazine here is a 15-round 9mm. In 40 caliber, it's a 13-round. And you'll see how it fits in the frame there. All right? Now, just so we all are on the same page, this magazine will not fit into the full-size gun. It's too short. While it goes up there, of course, it doesn't lock up. It just doesn't have the size to lock up to the top, and it's shorter than the standard 17-round magazine, which is right here. So it's that much shorter. And people ask that question all the time. Well, will the 15-round magazine fit in the Glock 17? No, it will not. But the 17-round magazine will fit into the Glock 19, as we demonstrated earlier. Now, okay, so here's your 15-round magazine. It will fit into the Glock 26. Voila, just like that, which is not a bad package either. So you have a 15-round mag in your Glock 26, and of course there is a sleeve available for that as well. So here's a sleeve. It's got a little custom stippling on it that we did because this happens to be my personal magazine. This happens to be my personal carry right here. So I'm carrying the mid-size magazine in my Glock 26, and I've got the beaver tail grip adapter on it because I like to get up nice and high there so it doesn't bite me. The slide doesn't bite me when it comes back in recoil. So that's how that beaver tail works. Come up really high up on top here like that. So, and I've also, of course, I've stippled the frame a little bit to give it a little texture. I like it. You can see the texture there in the light. And of course I matched it up on the magazine sleeve and on the back as well. So it really gives my hand a nice solid grip to hold on to. And this is a great concealable package. Again, you've got 15 rounds of 9mm in this little mini package. All right, so there's the mini Glock with the mid-size magazine. keeping in mind the same rules apply, whether it's a 40 caliber, the 23 to 27, or the 357, the 32 to 33. But now let's look at the mini Glock by itself. So there is a mini, and we're going to put in the factory magazine that comes with it, which is in 9mm is 10 rounds, and in 40 caliber is 9 rounds. And you'll see that it's flush to the frame like it's supposed to be. And the shortfall here is that this gun is so short that you really only have 2 fingers on it, and there's nothing for your pinky. And let's see if I can come around this way here, and you guys can see that's one of the shortfalls of this gun. It's a great little package, but you know, somewhat to be desired for controllability. It's hard to control this gun with just 2 fingers. It's kind of top heavy. So, luckily, a lot of creative people have been working with these Glocks for some time, and we've come up with some solutions. First, there is the Glock Factory +2 solution. And you can see on the bottom it says Glock, of course. That's the manufacturer. And it has a plus on it. And this gives you a +2 of 9mm or +1 of 40 caliber. So, that's what that looks like. And it gives you a little something more to hold on to. You can see right there, just a little bit more for my grip. I'll come back around this way so you can see this side. All right, so that's not a bad option. And we also have the Pierce grip extension. And this is available in a couple different configurations. This is the large one. This is the the PG 2733, which gives you 2 extra rounds of 9mm. You can see how it's nicely contoured here, as well as checkered in the front. But what's nice is the contour matches the other finger grooves. And this one is a little longer than the Glock Factory, so it really cups my little finger perfectly. And I like this package a lot as well. You can see there. So see how that works? And we find that people who have the mini Glocks, once they put their hand around something like this with the extension, they're sold. There's really no going back. The one shortfall of the mini Glock is that the frame is so short. But with the extension, you're able to get a full-size grip on it. Now that's a great option as well. And these are all inexpensive. They're like $10 a piece. So they just slip on the bottom of the magazine. I've got a separate video to show you how to do the installation of that, so I don't need to go through that here. But again, my preference, because I like a slightly larger grip, is I like the magazine sleeve, and it gives me just about everything I need. My hand's just a little bit bigger. You can see right there, though, I'm on it the whole way. And I think, in essence, this is the best package for me, based upon my hand. Now, all these will work. They're all good solutions. A lot of people are jumping into some kind of magazine extension for their gun. Okay, so that's the minis, of course. Now, again, just so you know, these little mini magazines will not fit into the mid-size or the full-size frame. They're just too short to lock up. And the magazines lock up on the little notch right here. And while we're looking at this, let's go ahead and talk about the notch, because a lot of you are, of course, familiar that Glock has these generations that they've come through: Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and now Gen 4. And people ask us all the time, do the Gen 4 magazines work in a Gen 3? Yes, they do. Do the Gen 3 magazines work in the Gen 4? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Now, what's the difference? And why do they have a Gen 4, Gen 3? Okay, first of all, before we talk about the mags, the Gen 4 guns allow you to move the magazine release button to the other side, the wrong side. Now, my wife is left-handed, so she won't be happy with that. But here's the deal. Okay, so on the standard Glock, the magazine release button is on the left-hand side, so it can be operated with your right thumb. Right there it is. Okay, for years, lefties had to learn how to use their index finger to come back here and pop that out. Okay, just like that. And the guys who are left-handed who shoot a lot, you know, it's not a problem for them. It's easy. But Glock, in its wisdom, you know, wanted to match the 1911s and the fact that, you know, some of these pieces are interchangeable or ambidextrous for other manufactured guns. So Glock said, well, we're going to come out with one too. So they developed the Gen 4, and one of the parts of the Gen 4 is, in fact, that the magazine release button can be removed and put onto the other side. So if you're left-handed, you can operate it with your left thumb and not lose your trigger finger grip there or whatever, or not have to interfere with that. So that's one of the main differences in a Gen 4 versus a Gen 3. But here's the caveat. If you want to use a Gen 3 magazine in a Gen 4 gun, you can use it if you're right-handed and you're using the right-hand operation because it has the notch already cut on the right side. Okay? See, there's no notch cut on the left side of the Gen 3 magazines. Gen 3 has only one notch. However, if you are lefty and you want to use the magazine release on the right side or with your left thumb, I'm going to say the wrong side again, but if you want to use it over here, you have to use a Gen 4 magazine, and here's why. Because the Gen 4 magazines have a notch on both sides. Okay? So here's the Gen 4, and you're going to notice two things. One, you're going to notice that little metal plate right there, which helps lock up the magazine as well. And then you're going to notice a notch on both sides, and you'll also see that this notch has a steel insert. Interesting, right? Okay, whereas that notch doesn't. And people always say, well, does that make a difference? Not really, okay? I mean, bottom line is it's going to function, fine. But if you want to shoot the Gen 4 gun and shoot it left-handed and use your left hand to operate the magazine release button, you have to use Gen 4 magazines. If you are right-handed, you can still put Gen 3 mags in it and shoot Gen 3 all day long and not have to worry about it because you're just operating there, and so that'll work. Now, interestingly enough, Glock, when they introduced the Gen 4 mags, they didn't recall the Gen 3s. In fact, they didn't even come up with a new product code. They just shoved the Gen 4s right down the pipeline behind the Gen 3s and waited for all the Gen 3s to get flushed out of the distribution channel. And here are basically all new Glock magazines that we receive and we sell are Gen 4 magazines. So hopefully that solves that because people call up often and say, I've got a Gen 4, I need to get Gen 4 magazines. We say, fine, no problem. Most of the magazines we get, I would say 99.9% of all the magazines we get now, because we only sell new magazines, are in fact Gen 4 magazines. But every once in a while, there may be one slipping through the distribution channel that is a Gen 3 and only has one notch. But now you know that the Gen 4, that's the difference. So that's the Gen 4 story. So now let's talk about one other thing people ask all the time. The 40 caliber versus the 357. The 40 caliber round and the 357 are basically the same diameter at the base of the round. In fact, the 357 round is a 40 caliber round that has been necked down to 357. So that means everything in the 357 guns, the 31, the 32, and the 33, everything in those guns is identical to everything in the 22, the 40 caliber guns, the 22, 23, and 27, except for the barrel and the barrel diameter. Now that leads itself to some fun possibilities. If you buy a 357, a Glock 31, you can also then buy just a Glock 22 40 caliber barrel and drop it right into that 31 and shoot 40 caliber out of the same gun, basically just by replacing barrels. No special gunsmithing required. And you can use the same magazines. Since this is a magazine demonstration, I'm going to talk about the magazines. Yes, you can use the 40 caliber magazine to shoot 357, and likewise the 357 magazine to shoot 40 caliber, because the diameters are the same. Okay, of the base. That's where the magazine gets held. Remember, in the magazine, the base of the round is held by the magazine lips. So that's important for you to remember because people ask that question all the time. Well, I've got a 357. I want to buy that 40 caliber barrel. Do I have to change magazines? No, you don't. You can use the same magazines because they are basically interchangeable. All right. One other thing I want to show you is the big stick magazines. These are very cool, and I've got a separate video all on this. This is the 33 round 9mm magazine. All right, you'll see it's basically got 31 holes right here. It goes up to 31. And people always say, well, hey, I bought a 33 round mag. It only says 31. Relax. Whew. If you notice, on the bottom, Glock placed, and it comes with, from the factory, the plus magazine extension, +2. So it's 31 in the tube marked, +2 is 33. That is the 33 round 9mm magazine. And the same is true, Glock also has a 22 round 40 caliber mag that is basically just a little shorter than this, but it's the same concept. And what's really cool about this 33 round mag is that it will in fact fit in the Glock 17 just like that. Okay? And you can load it up on Monday and shoot till Sunday. But it will also fit the Glock 19 just like that. And that's pretty cool. And then of course, it will also fit the Glock 26. And it will function. It will feed the rounds. Not really great on concealment, but it will actually work. So that's the 33 round 9mm magazines, Glock factory. There's also a 22 round 40 caliber magazine that does the same thing in either the 357 or the 40 caliber guns. All right, that would be the 22, 23, 27, or the 31, 32, 33. So that's the big stick magazine, and they're a lot of fun. Okay, so finally now, let's go ahead and look at the large caliber, the large frame guns. This is a Glock 30 SF, and the SF magazines and the standard Glock 30 or the Glock 21 and the Glock 21 SF, they're the same, okay? You don't have to have a different magazine. Everything's the same basically in the inner workings of that gun, except for what they did with the SF is they made this hole, this magazine, the hole behind the magazine well, they made it smaller. Shorter, in a sense, so the Glock frame is shorter this way. Not much shorter this way, but it's shorter this way so you can get a better grip on it. All right, so what I want to show you, there's a couple things I want to show you, is that one, it comes with a 9-round magazine, just like that. And again, you're going to face the same thing here you do with the other mini Glock. You have a little better grip. It does, in fact, capture your finger just a little bit, about half of my pinky, all right? Because it's bigger overall. That's the mini 45 package. But Glock also has the 10-round 45 caliber magazine that sometimes comes with a gun and sometimes doesn't. And I scratch my head all the time and say, well, why? Because that's way better, all right? That's the 10-round magazine that fits in the Glock 30. And it's like night and day to me. I get a full grip on that now. Plus I have one extra round. So I think what happened is they developed this 9-round magazine first, and then, people were complaining, so they came out with this 10-rounder. And sometimes the guns show up with a 9-round, and sometimes they show up with a 10-round. And that's from the factory. So we scratch our head and think, well, who would want that when you can have that? And it's the same price, too. There's no difference. So, it was one of those goofy things that Glock did. But bottom line is, the 45 in this mini package is very, very popular. And I want to show you one other thing. This is the actual full-size magazine that fits into a Glock 21. And it will be a 13-round 45 magazine, but it also fits into the Glock 30 or 30 SF. So again, there's no difference magazine-wise for the standard Glocks or the SF Glocks. And there is a sleeve available for this too if you want to go ahead and use that. But you don't have to, because you can get the full-size grip just like that. All right. So that's the magazine story. One other thing we should show you before we go is the magazines can be customized with your names or logos. We do sell different magazine base plates. And the base plates go right onto the gun. I've got a separate video to show you all about these. We have them pre-configured in different designs that are kind of cool that you can select. You can also customize them if you so desire. That will allow you to identify them. So in case you have a bad one, you know which one it is, number 3, number 4, whichever one that seems to be malfunctioning. You can identify it, take it back, and get it fixed. But also it marks them so they don't get mixed up with your friends' magazines and or walk off by themselves, if you know what I mean. So those are some things that you may want to consider when you think about the magazines. And last thing is to look at here is a magazine holder. Of course, when you have magazines, you have to have a way to carry them. We've got a couple different solutions. This just happens to be the new universal magazine holder that holds .40 caliber. It also holds the 9mm. It also holds the .45, which is really cool. So we found that this is a neat little item because it's inexpensive. It's got a belt clip that you actually loop your belt through here. You can hold it into your body really tightly. It's inexpensive. We have some other magazine options, holders as well. We've got a 5 in a line. We've got 2 in a line. We've got 8 in a line that you can wear on your belt that are really cool and very tactical. Also help keep your magazines organized. There's separate videos for those too, and you can go check those out. But that's a good look at the magazine story. Last thing I guess I should say is that people always ask, well, how do I clean the magazines? What should I do? Should I oil the springs? And I'm going to say, no, don't oil the springs. Absolutely, positively, you don't need to oil the magazine spring. Basically, to clean these magazines, bottom line is you want to take the base plate off. And I guess I'll show you how to do that real quick here because some people are going to have questions. So to take the base plate off, you're going to go ahead and use a punch. And it says stout punch, all right? And I'm going to put the punch inside the hole, and you'll notice the hole right there. There's a small detent that is pushing up there. It's spring pressured with the magazine spring. You want to put that in here, okay? Once you get it in, you're going to go ahead and pop this magazine off. Now, I've said before, you can't do it out top here like that. You have to get on top of it, get some shoulder weight onto it. Let me go ahead and demonstrate it real quick now. You push this guy in, okay? And what I like to do is get up, and I'm going to stand up here just a little bit, and I want to get up here and I want to press down. Once you pop it, you want to capture the spring with your finger, okay? And you can see how the punch gets caught there. So you pull the punch out. Now I want to come here, and I always want to be careful not to have this spring fly out. In fact, I'm going to say that you should be wearing safety glasses, okay? All right, you should be wearing safety glasses. So once I go ahead and take this off halfway, I can pull it down. I want to capture it now with my thumb so the spring doesn't fly out. This is called the base plate. And inside here is called the insert plate. And you'll notice how there's a little nipple or detent there that sticks up, and that fits in the hole, and that's what captures the magazine onto the magazine body. All right? So we're talking about cleaning these guys, so that's why I'm taking it apart. So you take out the magazine, and there's the follower. And all these are separate parts, by the way. We sell the follower separate, we sell the magazine separate. You can buy a magazine survival kit as well that has the body and the base plate and all that stuff. So there's the magazine. Now the only thing you really want to do here is just brush this out or wash it out with just warm water. You don't have to do much with these, okay? Wash it out, let it dry. If it's really dirty, if it's really dusty, you were out in the range and it fell on the ground and got really dirty and dusty, well, go ahead and wash it out and rinse the spring off and let it dry. There's no need to put any oil on this stuff whatsoever. These are all plastic and steel parts. Wash them out, let them dry, and then reassemble. Okay, I'm going to tell you, you put oil on this, it's going to attract dust, it's going to gum up, it's going to get nasty, and it will cause more problems than if it just runs dry. It wants to run dry. All right. Let's go ahead and reassemble it real quick. You can see here the magazine follower is going to go up because the rounds are going up. It can only go in one way. If it starts to go in and it feels good, that's good. If you try to go the other way, it won't go. So you go in, get it seated, look at it, make sure it's seated. Now I'm going to go ahead, and again, this is where you got to be careful. You want to make sure you don't compress that spring and let it fly. So you can see the insert plate is a tombstone shape. It has a square edge, matches up with the square edge of the magazine. So I'm going to go ahead now and get this spring compressed and get the insert plate in there. Make sure I capture it with my thumb. And then, of course, use your body as a third hand. Then get your base plate and slip it onto the top. Now, sometimes you can use just the bench there just to force that on. And I do that every once in a while. I'll pull it over here so you can see it. And you hear it snap like that. And that's a good sound because the little nipple or dimple snapped into the hole. And that's how you clean magazines. So that being the case, there it is. I've talked a lot about magazines, but you can never have enough because without the magazines, the gun's kind of useless. It's a one-shot deal. So you want to take care of your magazines. You want to make sure that you have plenty of them. You want to have some way to carry them and store them. And you know, they'll last for a long time. That's the one thing about these mags. I've had mags that I've had for 15, 20 years. They still work great. Glock makes a great product, and I don't think you'll ever go wrong with buying more magazines. I'm Lenny Magill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.